What's going on, guys? Welcome back to In the World Not of It podcast. I am Siddons.
I'm Lane.
I'm Matt.
I'm Lincoln. Shout out Lincoln. Welcome back to the episode. We're glad to be back. Today we are talking about, I'm going to say the concept of hell. I know that probably what it is. Yes. Not necessarily, how to get there, but the concept of it. I think we need to have that difference set in stone at the beginning so people aren't that can go wrong. But anyways, socials will be on the screen for all of the YouTube watchers. They'll be down on the bottom or up top or on the side. I don't know. But follow us on YouTube. It's Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, where we post a new episode every Wednesday at 8 a.m. I've not made the Instagram post. That's my fault. It's okay.
You're fired.
I'm fired, yes. But,
Take a picture right now.
okay. Y'all? Not person over there? Hooray. Y'all will see that on Instagram if you go follow us. Also, you can follow our actual personal accounts if you want, but I wouldn't really recommend that just because, yeah.
I'll follow you back. Trust.
We're just too famous, I guess.
And then we'll...
Oh, that's actually a good thing to bring up. We're trying to get to 200 subscribers on YouTube. We're actually relatively close. It was at 168 when I last checked. Could be higher now. And also, if you have any certain questions you want us to answer on the podcast or just talk to you one-on-one, we have an Instagram. I think that's the only way you can really contact us. Unless you want to email us, but don't really do that. We don't check those.
We don't check our emails. We probably should, but we don't.
I don't know if they know what our email is. But anyway, Instagram is probably the best. Instagram is probably the best way to reach us at In the World Not of It podcast. But yeah, glad to be back. It's cold outside. It's cold in here. I'm freezing.
It's going to snow Tuesday.
And that's what we're talking about. Hell.
Ta-da. Alright, well, I guess I'll start off. I was going to start off in this little story I had. Sorry, I forgot my Bible, so I'm on my phone.
Shame.
I thought this was a good story because it kind of shows that hell is real, and it shows different qualities. But anyway, it's called the Rich Man and Lazarus. There was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen, and fared sumptuously every day, and there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to pass that the beggar died, and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. And the rich man also died, and was buried. In hell he lift up his eyes, being in torments, and seeing the Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in the bosom. So stopping right there, it's showing that he was in hell, and he lifted up his eyes, and saw the torments, and Abraham afar off, up in heaven.
Oh, also, Abraham's bosom. That sounds weird.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that...
What?
But Abraham's bosom, is that not like the shoulder to chest area, whatever, where somebody would rest upon?
Yeah,
And that's kind of why it's the tomb.
I think so.
It's something like that. Yeah. Anyway, continue on.
Verse 24. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus, that ye may dip the tip of his finger in water, and cool my tongue. For I am tormented in this flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivedst thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things, but now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. So again, stopping right there, it's Lazarus was wanting to dip his finger in water to cool his tongue because of the tormenting of the flame. And then verse 26, and beside all this, between us and you, there is a great gulf fixed, so that They which would pass from hence to you cannot, neither can they pass to us, that would come from thence. Then he said, I pray thee therefore, Father, that thou wouldest send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brethren, that ye may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment. Abraham saith unto them, They have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. And he said, Nay, Father Abraham, but if one went unto them from the dead, they will repent. And he said unto him, If they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rose from the dead. So in that part, it's Lazarus wanting someone to tell his 5 brethren some way for them to not come to hell and being the torment that he was being put through. But that little story there really shows like how real hell really is and the kind of terrible things that happen, and that you will see, you will feel, and everything that's gonna happen if you end up there.
Doesn't he get raised from the dead after that?
Are we talking about the rich man or are we talking about Lazarus?
Lazarus, yeah, he gets rose from the dead, doesn't he? Pretty sure. That's what happens.
Unless it's a different guy.
It could be different Lazarus because there's a ton of different versions of the same name in the Bible.
A lot of repeating
The rich
names.
guy, not Lazarus.
The rich guy's
rich
the one
guy.
who's
Okay. So that's actually better than anything. I don't really have a verse to talk about. It's mostly just based off of what I've been taught, what I've been given throughout my life. But when we talk about hell, the best way to describe it is torment, and that's what it uses. But one thing that people all have, we all don't see the same way, and I know it's usually associated with like flames burning and all that.
Metaphors.
A lot of metaphorical stuff, and it's really, we don't necessarily know.
You have
If
no
we're being
idea.
real, we don't know exactly what the place of hell
Yeah,
is.
we have a concept what heaven looks like. We have no idea what
what
hell
I've
looks
seen
like.
is that
Also-
there's no like visual descriptions of
There's
hell.
no
in the Bible.
visual description.
With
But
heaven, we have
also,
at least an idea. But
with what I've been taught, this can get some, I'll say backlash, but I don't really know. But what I've always been taught by youth pastor, I talked to him this week too because we were every concept that I really have is something that I've talked about with one of my friends or someone else, and I've talked about with youth pastor. And hell is hell even, was it used in that passage?
The word hell.
The word hell. I don't think it's ever used in the Bible. The word hell.
It's just a name we've given it.
It's a name we've given
the
it.
beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. Oh yeah, it does say and in hell he lift up his eyes, being in torments.
Okay. So hell is a word that is very
Flexible.
flexible. Yes, I'll say that. By the way I've been taught, and everybody's taught differently, hell is the lake of fire at the after judgment. So the place that I would say those who are deserving, I'll say that, those that are deserving of the, I'll call it the pit. I don't want to say hell over and over, but deserving of pit of deserving of the pit or hell is, I would say they're in the grave. Like, and by what I mean in the grave is, this is from Youth Pastor, by the way. The place that disembodied spirits travel to is called the grave, pit, etc. But it is not hell. That comes only after the judgment. And I feel like, and you may disagree with this, again, very flexible subject. There's no set. We'll see. We'll all see eventually. Well, hopefully, not all of us. That was bad. Sorry, but
we'll know is what you're trying.
yes, I'll say it as we'll know. In the end, we'll know the differences. It sounds like I'm really trying not to make it sound like everybody's going there, but disembodied spirits is how youth pastor would describe it, is in a place called the pit, the grave, and hell is a place set for judgment. So at the end times, when we're in the courtroom as it's visualized, if we are departed from God and placed into the lake of fire, that's what we call hell. We are put there in the lake of fire pit, eternally separated from God. Now, another thing I want to bring up is what happens in hell. Like I've said already, it's very much embodied as flames. I would say we think of it more as a torture, physical torture.
I think it's really just the separation from God.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's like, I know we see it as like flames and hot. It's a hot place.
Actually, I have like a thing that says what hell isn't and what hell is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, so what hell isn't is a pit of fire ruled by Satan, a party made for you, and you're sent there by God. What it actually is separation from God, real torture made for Satan and his demons, and we send ourselves.
Exactly. So we are sent there
By ourselves. Because
ourselves.
here's what my thing. God loves you so much that he is going to respect your decision to not know him in this life, that he's not going to force you to be with him in the next one. Yeah. And so and it's so bad because it is separation from God, and God is love and peace, and just being away from that in its own is torture.
I would I agree. I would say, I don't know if this will make any sense because of how it's described as hot and burning. It's literally called the lake of fire. But it's almost like without its complete absence of God's presence, I feel like it would feel cold. Not in a sense of temp or anything, but like you have no, because I feel like in this life, with just my experiences, it could be different from everyone. I feel like no matter how hard the times are, you always have that something that's keeping you going. And I like to think in my mind that something is God, just making sure that I'm keep going no matter how hard it gets. I feel like there in the lake fire, the pit, hell, whatever you want to call it, I feel like it's almost like there's no hope. Like you can be the most optimistic person in the world, but if you're down there, you know that there's nothing good happening. And there isn't. And another thing that I was talking about, the tormenting part. What do y'all think about the punishment, I guess you could say? Are you going to say that it's physical or pat our next body? Okay, what does it say about the next body?
New bodies
In hell?
I don't know.
See,
I think the punishment in its own is separation from God.
Okay.
But I do believe that there is physical.
You do? And that's okay. I mean, like I said, very hard to talk about. But I feel like you said, it's the separation from God. It's the no hope being there. And that man that you're talking about that was sent there, he asked for what? Just a dip of blood on his tongue? A dip of water.
To cool his tongue from the fire.
Exactly. And that's actually that's very scary to think about. I feel like if you take any account to the Bible and want to live by its word, I feel like if you read that one story alone, though we have no pure description of what hell is, I feel like if you read that alone, you got to know it's bad news.
You can take parts of it, and it tells you exactly what's going on. Like in my notes, I have for that below that verse.
I'll check mine real quick.
I have, he lifted up his eyes, he could still see. Being in torments, he could still feel. And he cried, so he could still speak. And the cool my tongue, he could still feel. So, I mean, that kind of shows that there is physical.
There's got to be,
things
yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that would be the biggest thing, because
Sorry for the background noise, by the way.
but like God's so merciful, God's so I don't know what I'm looking for, loving, that he gave you your own decision, and it was him or for the second death.
I think hell itself is proof, or what was it? Hell exists because God gives us the freedom of choice. Yeah. And so he's going to respect you and your decision to not be with him in this life, and he's not going to force you to be with him in the next one. So
You gotta
make your decision however you want to make it.
you gotta really worry about stuff like this. There's a quote from To Kill a Mockingbird. People are so worried about the next life, they forget to live a little in this one. And I feel like that's really not a good quote to live by. I mean, you need to. I am a firm believer that you should enjoy the time you have here, but don't let the time take up your entire life. But that quote, you need to be worried about the next life, because the next life is the last one you have. And I feel like if you don't want to follow the short life, we really do have a short life on this earth. And we don't know when we're going to be taken out.
The next one's really long.
Yeah,
so
the next one is literally
eternity.
It's eternity, if you want to think about that. But you gotta. I said we wouldn't talk about how to get there, but you gotta realize what your decisions are on this earth. But another thing I saw, I was talking with a buddy, like I always am, it seems like. But he sent me a video, and this guy was talking about hell. And for a second, I thought he was going to go to the part where it's like there's levels, depending on how bad you've been here. I'm just going to say I don't think that's right
That's
at
the
all.
visual of Dante's Inferno, which is a book from like the 1300s. That's how we view it today, but that's not really what it is.
That is
biblically.
not how it works. But, I mean, I don't. That sounds very one way. Have your beliefs, but I don't believe in that. But I thought he was going to go to the part where it's like levels. What he really meant is he was talking like it was a part of this earth, almost like obviously in the middle where people think it is. Again, I'm just a teenager. I don't know everything. I feel like, so when earth and heaven conjoins at the end, God, the lake of fire is this earth's darkness put by itself, right? Okay, that's what I thought. So that was very confusing for me. It's very hard to think about that. But the main part that I'm trying to get to is he talked about it being about this life and the next one, depending on what we choose. And would you say this is an example, Mario World? Would you say that's a place?
Like the theme park or like the actual game?
Like in the game.
No.
Okay, so his argument was Mario World or whatever. When you turn on Mario on the Nintendo, that's a place made up of stuff, and you can go there, but it's not a physical place. If you're following me, it's almost like putting on a VR headset.
Yeah.
And living a life in a virtual plane, but physically you're not there at all. And he kind of put it both ways about how this could be seen as almost a simulation of a VR where we see life through this, and this is the VR, but our physical body is where we choose to put it. I don't know if that makes any sense. And I'm sorry to say, but I feel like that guy's very mistaken. Hell is a place, and when we say hell is real, it is a real place. Not no VR where we're put into it, and that's not where our body is. Because it sounded like, to me, I could be taking this wrong too, but it sounded like to me he was saying your body's already put where it's supposed to be, and then you're just living your life there through that VR. That VR thing.
That is not true.
I'm hoping, and then again, you can believe that. Not gonna.
Dog on him.
No, yeah, not gonna dog on him. But that just does not seem, with the way stuff I've been taught. You good? With the stuff I've been taught, that just does not seem right. And then he also put it like this, though. This is more agreeable, I would say. You're living this life, and depending on how you live this, whenever you take off that VR goggles, is what we're calling it. How you've lived this life depends on what you see next in your physical world. That's a little bit better, but I think he's mistaking this life and the two others that are the two other possibilities, heaven and hell. I feel like he's mistaking that as something that's not physical. this life is like physical stuff. Like, you are here. This is where you're at. You can't do nothing about it unless you die. You can't do nothing about it. I mean, this might not be a good example. I can touch my knee and I can feel that. And that's the same thing with heaven and hell. You are in a physical heaven, your soul. You don't really have your body. And you are in hell. That's a physical place you can be. And he is right about this life choosing it, which place you go. That's for another episode, I feel like. We've also talked about it, obviously. But that's a physical place. It's a real place. That's what you have to realize. And that video just kind of, I don't know. But he, like, at the end of the day, he was trying to protest towards what we believe. So that's good. But his description was, no, I didn't like it very much. And maybe I'm just soft. Who knows? But I didn't like the depiction he gave. I felt like it was very loose-ended. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. And then, lastly, you know how we talk about in heaven, we don't really remember the people. So, like, if we know somebody here,
we won't remember them.
We won't remember them if they split with us. I don't want to talk about that because it's very sad, but that's the truth. If somebody splits from this life and we go to heaven, they go to the pit, we won't remember them. You think it's the same?
Your fault, though.
Exactly, that too, and that's hard to think about, but that could be the case. And I feel like at the end of the day, though this podcast isn't centered around being a messenger of God, the people you love here should be so important to where you want to bring them with you. I don't want any, like, and I know I can't change everybody's mind, but I wish this entire world could go to heaven. I mean, that'd be great. But, you know, one thing that I thought about is it vice versa? Or when we say torment in hell is so great, you think it's the torment of the missed opportunities you have in remembering all those?
Probably. Yeah.
Like,
I could have fixed it, but I didn't.
Like with the...
There's probably an insane amount of guilt and regret down there.
And that's the kind of torment I feel like will be dominant, almost.
It'd be more of a mental thing than it will be physical.
And, again, could be wrong. But I really thought about that, too, how maybe if you are in hell, you have to live with that life that you will forever regret. And that's part of it. And, again, I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy at all. But that's just a thought to have. Maybe you get to see all the moments where you could have changed the way you were and didn't take it.
Because God's not going to let you live and then let you not have a chance of knowing Him. Yeah.
And that's just a thought that I had. And it's, again, hell is not a very good subject it's not a very good conversation to have with somebody off rip with their faith. But, you know, we're 18 episodes in. I feel like it's a conversation we have to have. It's something we have to talk about. Because at the end of the day, it's very real. And I don't want nobody going there. And if you know the torment and how bad it will be, we cannot even really mentally think about how bad hell will be. Yeah. And I feel like if you have that worry of going and you don't want to go, that could be a kickstart to someone to be like, yeah, I got to get some stuff turned around. Because I know I don't want to be there. I hope none of y'all want to. I'm going to go ahead and assume y'all don't want to be there. And if you're here watching this, listening to this on Spotify or YouTube, which you should go check out if you haven't already, I really hope you don't plan on going to hell. I don't want you to.
Better.
I want to see y'all like I do.
You have your choice. After hearing all this, you can decide what you want to do.
And we can too.
Maybe
we're on the fence too.
If you are rethinking it, don't be scared to message any of us or the main account.
That's the point of the platform.
But, hopefully get you saved.
Yeah, it's a hard conversation to have. Again, some people you don't have to agree with this either, but don't get it confused. I see videos where it's like hell's gonna be a party because it's all the, that's not how it works. But I'm gonna go ahead and assume that's it for this episode.
Probably.
Very hard to talk about.
Yeah. Very tough subject too, because the concept of eternity is just so
eternity
bizarre.
Is something we have to think about whether we like it.
No, because we're always used to everything ends at some point, but just you can't comprehend it.
We get caught up in the now.
Yeah.
We really do, and it's very human of us to do. So don't feel like you're wrong for wanting to live in the moment. But with episodes like this, you have to think about the long-term contract of this life. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap us up here.
All right.
If y'all have the verse ready.
I have the verse. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you. My love be with you all in Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank y'all for joining on this episode. We hope y'all have a great day. I'll get the Instagram posted for last week's episode, which you should go check out. You can find it, I think, a link in the description of Spotify and YouTube.
Yes.
Where you can go follow us, check out all our uploads.
Actually, no.
Drop a follow.
I don't think it's on YouTube.
Not on YouTube.
I don't think that allow.
Well, if you're on YouTube,
links.
you can already find our account.
Maybe.
Make sure to subscribe. Trying to get to 200 followers. We're very close. But yeah, thank you for watching this episode. Rethink stuff if you need. You've heard a lot today. In the end, I want you to make the right decision. The right decision being following Christ. But yeah, that's it for this episode. Thank y'all for joining. Goodbye.